Number 7, we need to support one another. In Surah 2, Ayah 187 of the Holy Quran, the translation says, "They are a garment for you, and you are a garment for them." Now, yes, this is the English translation, but the most common translation of that ayah is garment. If you think about a garment, it's a piece of cloth. Are you going to put on a clothing that is rough and rugged and is going to hurt you? No. If it's hot outside, you're going to put on a coat? No. If it's cold, you're going to put on a tank top? No. You're going to put on something that suits you, that makes you feel warm or makes you feel cool, whatever the situation dictates. You're going to put on something that makes you feel good. So our spouses should be a garment for us. In other words, to sum it up, they should be your best friend. They should be somebody that you want to spend time with, that you look forward going home to, that you want to spend the weekend with. How sad is it that we're married to somebody that we don't want to go home to? That's a problem. We need to figure this out. We need to ask ourselves, why is this the case? So I'm hoping, inshallah, that the advice that I'm giving those who are not married will lead you to that point by Allah's permission, or those people who are married, who are facing this, can maybe implement just a little bit of what I'm saying to help reach that goal of having your spouse be your best friend. That's the ideal. That's what we want. They should be a garment for each other. And one of the ways that we can help move towards that point is by supporting one another. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he said, "The best of you are those who are best to their families. And I am the best to my family." And one of the things that really helped me in marriage, to be totally honest, is realizing that there's so many things that we do that we don't realize are an ibadah. They're actually an act of worship. And one of them is servicing your family, is helping your spouse, is helping your children. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he said that when you help somebody up on their horse or on their mount, I mean, they were riding donkeys and camels and horses back then, right? So it was relevant for the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, to say, if you help somebody up on their mount, that's a charity. The spirit of that hadith, or the spirit of that teaching, is if you help somebody. There are many other ahadith where it speaks about services to the community and services to people that are better than prayer, better than fasting. Things like removing a harmful thing from the road. Smiling, even just smiling to somebody, is a charity. And so what the scholars say is that any act of good that you do is an act of worship. And how much more so if that act of good is done to your own family. And so if we have this perspective in our minds, our marriages and our home life will be so much easier. Why? Because like I said, your wife is going to challenge you. Your husband is going to challenge you. You're going to see things you didn't see before. You're going to experience things that you don't like. Have patience with them. You know, when kids come into the picture, my wife, she got sick when she was pregnant. 4 times. She was sick for 4 months each time. And this was a big challenge and a big test for me. You know what got me through it? By the grace of Allah, Allah blessed me with the perspective that every single thing I did for her, I said to myself in my heart, I said, "Oh Allah, accept this as an ibadah." So we have to keep this in our minds and in our hearts, that everything we do for our family, we're getting rewards for it. And this should motivate you further. I mean, we shouldn't need that as a motivation, right? We should do it because they're our wife or they're our husband. They needed our help. But to help us get through it, to deal with the stress. Remember, this is like praying. It's like fasting. You are paving the way to paradise for yourself, inshallah. Assuming, of course, that you're doing all the other required things. So try to keep that in mind. And don't blame the other spouse necessarily. You know, when my wife got sick, I could have easily said, "You know, what's wrong with you? Come on, get out of bed. Help me out. I mean, it's something called hormones, right? She couldn't help it. It was just her bodily makeup. And not all women are like this, right? I've heard of women who get pregnant and they're perfectly fine. They can get up, they can go to work, they can take care of the children, whatever. For my wife, that wasn't the case. She had certain health conditions. And so we have to be careful of blaming each other. Try to support one another. Like your best friends. Again, you're there to support one another as a team, as husband and as wife, as garments to one another.